Okay, so for those of you interested in pass-through storage for things like long arms, I did want to kind of show you some of the limitations of the space that are in here. And a long arm will fit as a pass-through. Now, one thing to keep in mind as I do this, I have down in there, right there, two locker control mechanisms sticking up, and they kind of block the ideal pass-through spot in my situation. So this isn't exactly an accurate interpretation of what happens, but what I do want to point out is that this is my trusty lever action 30-30. It's a fairly short barreled firearm, and the limitation, I would recommend doing this, with it in a sock or something, but I beat this one, so it's alright, is if you'll notice, it gets really close to the edge there as I slide it over the, boy, this is hard one-handed, the sling's caught, as I slide it over the lip here, because of the angle of approach for it to get in there. It does work, but if it were something like, a classic double-barreled shotgun that had a much longer barrel on it, it probably wouldn't, and that would be one of the ideal things to be locking in there. Even with the Mossberg shotgun, it gets pretty snug. Let me slide this out there as well. Hang on a second, let me change my hand. So we're back here, and like I was saying with the Mossberg, I have to put the pump back, oh, I'm putting it in the wrong way, on it, just so that it clears. Once again, beater guns, I'm not too worried about it. And even still, it's pretty snug. See, the stock hits there, and the slide gets in the way of the locker mechanism, and gets caught on the carpet and goes in there. Like I said, that's a beater gun that I'm not worried about, so I wouldn't recommend doing it with nice firearms. But it is nice that you do have pass-through storage. It would work really well for things like expensive fly rods as well. So just keep that in mind. I don't want anybody thinking that they're getting something, it's a perfect gun safe, and find out that their precious long arm won't fit through there very well. What you can do with the long arms is put one through from this side and one in from the other side, so you can actually fit two in there. There's a chance that depending on what they are, you could actually fit two in from one side, but I'm not really sure about it. There is a little bit more room on the other side, I'm going to show you in just a second, because the hump is different and the parking brake mechanism doesn't come up as far there. So hang on one second. So here we are on the other side with the trusty lever gun again, and you can see that if you look in there, I'll use the barrel to point, that's safe, right? There's a less of a hump because the parking brake mechanism isn't coming up, so you have more room to slide this underneath. Now as I go through and I get the barrel to about there, it'll get interference from the locker control mechanisms, and this is tough one-handed. The sling gets caught again. So as we go through, there's a locker mechanism. You can actually tell there's a little bit more room to get them in from this side, and in all likelihood you probably could fit another sidearm next to it. But once again, in a sleeve, because otherwise they're going to be rattling around in there. But yeah, that's what the limitation is going to be as far as dealing with putting long arms into boxes.